Hi, this is Sensei James Leonelli from Sensei's Weekly Mindset, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. Don't forget my personal favorite, MMA. We've got it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, we can help you find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And don't forget BetOnline for NHL, boxing, golf, and like I said, my personal favorite, the sport of MMA. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Life isn't always easy, and you don't have to face it alone. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of needs. To get started, you simply answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. The best part is, if your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price, all from the comfort at home. To start your journey and to get 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/sensei. That's betterhelp.com/sensei. BetterHelp, you deserve to be happy. Hi guys, Sensei James Leonelli here to talk to you about another one of our sponsors, LMNT. An electrolyte drink mix. Each one of these little packets gives you exactly what you need to keep you as hydrated as all us athletes like to be. If you're like me, you work out a lot, and when you work out a lot, you also sweat a lot. Now, when we sweat, we don't lose just water, of course. We also sweat out salt. We sweat out electrolytes. So each one of these packets contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, giving you everything that you need in order to maintain optimal hydration and nothing that you don't. So to go online, place an order for your sample pack, and to get yourself a bonus free sample pack, you're going to go to this website right here, elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. You're going to see this down in the video below, but I'll say it one more time for you. elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. Again, it's a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Sensei's Weekly Mindset. I'm Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulman's here in Smithtown. Once again, I am back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys this week's food for thought. As we do, once again, you can see I am wearing my Catalina the Colombian Cobra fighter shirt. Now, as a reminder, all the proceeds of this shirt go to the same charity that Swing for the Stars is raising money for, the Family Autism Network. So make sure that you guys hop onto Naughty Combat Apparel's website and get yourself a couple of these, not just one, get several. And have one for every day of the week. Help us raise money for the charity that we are raising money for. All right? And as I sit here today, we are smack dab in the middle of Flex Fights 34 and Swing for the Stars number 2. All right, so both great events. Let's start by talking about Flex Fights number 34, excuse me. So Flex Fights 34 was Firefight was our theme, because we were held in the training facility for the Selden Fire Department, which was definitely a unique venue to us. It was the first time we'd ever been in that venue. and it was cool because I didn't quite know what to expect going into it. Um, get to the, I kind of like saw a tour that TJ did on Flex Fight's Instagram the day or so before the event, where he kind of took us through like a tour of what was going on and where the cage was going to be and where everything else is going to be, and kind of unexpected when you're thinking about how you come in and so forth. So kind of showed us the whole thing, how you came in through a gate and it was kind of tucked back away from the fire department a little bit. The fire department up on Main Street, and then tucked back a little bit was this training facility, essentially like a giant like barn or garage, very big, wide open building. Um, Not much in the way of like structure upstairs, but like there were awards and decorations, like cool things up on the wall for sure. We went downstairs to where the fighters were. There was a bunch of equipment stored, and again, more of like some cool old classic fire trucks, and in addition, just like the cool things that firefighters win in like competitions. There's always competitions for firefighters for all the different tasks that they do. Ladder climbing and water carrying and all this crazy stuff. Um, so they have all these competitions that are all over Long Island, and they've all the awards they've won through the years for all that, and all proud sponsors of this event and that event. It was all really really cool. The building itself very cool. A little smaller than Stereo Garden, our typical home, but in and of itself, a cool venue, a cool space, and it being springtime, it was kind of a nice change up because the venue had big like garage doors, and those were open to like a tarped out area where we had some of our sponsors, as well as a beer garden. Some porta potties were out there, and some other stuff. It was a nice ability for there to like maintain airflow throughout the entire night, which was really it made the evening that much more pleasant temperature wise. Sometimes when we're in some of the other venues, either just with all the humanity packed in there, it gets very hot, or if the air conditioning is cranking, thanks to all the humanity in there, sometimes it can get a little cold. But this was like a nice balance of both. And we had the air moving the entire time, which was again a nice touch for us, strapped to a desk for the night that we were there, and a fun experience as always. It was myself, Ian Binky, who's been on the broadcast a couple of times now. For the preliminary part of the card, we had Alex Cassiano from Punch Up Official, which was again a really awesome experience. Um, Alex, a very knowledgeable guy in terms of martial arts, but also additionally funny guy. And because he writes like a comedy internet show for martial arts, he's very very good at taking everything that's happening and kind of spinning it in really funny ways, or asking funny questions, or coming back to things that certainly make you giggle a little bit. For the main portion of the preliminary card, we had Dave Del Rocca take Alex's spot. So D Rock back on the call. I mean, it was again nice to have him there as well. Um, and then with all that in mind, great night of fights. Really just awesome stuff that went down. We started off with a bang. Second fight of the night, we had a slam knockout in about 15 seconds. It was crazy. Um, the one gentleman picked up the other the same way I pick up my niece Riley, who's 6, and like the same way I might like throw her into the pool. He like threw this man at the floor and knocked him out with a slam. It was crazy. It was really really crazy. I watched it back already, and I can't believe how crazy it was. We had 3 Team Tiger Schulman's fighters on the card. We had Gabriela Hernandez, who was out of our Bay Ridge location, and don't know Gabriela that well, but came out very very prepared. Really just did an awesome job. Her hands looked great, and she overwhelmed her opponent from very early on. Her opponent, both of them, it was their debut fight. Technically, on paper, her opponent had one fight previously, um, and she technically won that fight, but she won by what's called walkover, which basically means the fight is scheduled. There's like something on the line, whether it being advancing through a tournament bracket or a title of some kind, and your opponent just doesn't show up. So you win via walkover. So she was technically 1-0, even though she'd never thrown a punch in a ring. to that point. And she was a game tough opponent. She was really trying to chop at Gabriella's legs and try to slow her down, but slow down Gabriella did not. Really just kept full steam ahead. Just you know, hands just flying in flurries. Very accurate, great pace of work. Even towards the third round, didn't slow down at all, and just really let the hands speak for her. Um, so great performance, won by unanimous decision. Uh, Later on in the card, I'm gonna go ahead to come back. So later on in the card, we had a gentleman from our Regal Park School, Autobek Musanov. Autobek goes by Otto. Trains with my friend Sensei Stein in the Regal Park School. Been training there for many years. Um, and he came out like gangbusters. He was trying to win the fight with one punch very early on, and he was pretty convinced he was going to do so. And he landed on the guy a couple of times, and um, was really kind of, I don't want to say manhandling him, but was really trying to manhandle him. And the guy, to his credit, was really fighting back well. But Otto was being very aggressive, really coming after his opponent. Unfortunately, paid the price for that. Kind of blocked a kick or a spinning technique. I don't recall which one. And then he stepped forward to try to throw a right hand at the same time that his opponent threw a right hand, and Autobek took the worst of it. Got stopped there by that punch. He, like a true fighter, he did try to protest a bit, um, and you know, unfortunately, it was the right move to have him saved by the referee. Like us on the outside, we could tell like live to fight another day, Otto. We did have one other Tiger Schulman's fighter on the card. I'm going to come back to her in a second before I go through a couple of other things that happened on the card. We were headlined by a pro kickboxing bout featuring local kickboxer Rick Schaefer, right, local pro. And he was supposed to have his MMA debut, but fought through an injury, so he decided to stick with kickboxing. And he fought a gentleman who flew all the way from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Uh, Nathan Fought, who was a veteran of karate combat, among other things. And, good fight, tough guy, Nathan Fought. He really ate some serious leg kicks from Rick early in the fight. Um, and Rick kept chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping at that leg. But Nathan, true to his name, fought forward on and on and on, and eventually succumbed to the leg kicks in the second round. We did have one pro MMA fight on the card. Two guys returning after really quick turnarounds. Both guys fought for us in February for pro cards. Mike Basile and oh my gosh, terrible. And Brian Top, excuse me. For some reason, I had his name backwards in my head. But at any rate, Brian Top, Mike Basile, both guys coming off of first round finishes on the ground. Only Brian was the receiver of the first round finish, and Mike was the dealer of the first round finish, if you will, in two separate fights. And they met back up for this fight, and it was competitive. They went two rounds. In the second round, eventually, Mike got the stoppage on the ground, took his man down, moved to mount position, and just let his hands fly. And fly they did. We handed a few amateur titles that evening. We had the Vision World Order VWO medal from chief sponsor, the Vision. That fight, a little controversial. Some of the crowd didn't agree with the scoring. Personally, I didn't see either man winning the fight, to be honest. I thought the fight should have been ruled a draw based on the action that had happened. And there's a few other MMA titles. I did have a good experience chatting with a couple of young men from Mutant MMA before the card, and both of them were like, we really appreciate what you had said, and this and that and the other, and we're working on it and that stuff, like listening to your commentary. We're doing what we can do to make it even better. And look, tonight you're going to see the improvements, which I was excited, and I certainly did see the improvements for sure. So, can't think of any other super standout moments from the fights. The one unfortunate shadow of the night is we were supposed to have two pro MMA fights. Rocco Giambron supposed to make his return to the Flex Pro ranks after a stumble out of the gates in his first pro fight, and showed up, hands wrapped, his opponent the same. They're getting ready to go, and like halfway through the amateur card, we get a message in our headsets. Hey, Rocco Israel is off. And we have no other information. Like, oh no. oh no, why? So it turns out Israel didn't pass his pre-fight medicals. It happens. Sometimes things just the fight gods just decide that's how it's going to play out. And Rocco took it in stride as best that he could. It's a disappointing night, and as a fan, you hate to see that happen to your fighter. Um, Obviously, he trained so hard for that day, and you want to see him have the chance to really shine the way that we all know that he can. But I digress. Uh, Back onto the other Tiger Schulman's fighter on the card. So the final Tiger Schulman's fighter on the card was Jordan McCarthy out of our Hoboken location, and Jordan been training since she was a kid, second degree black belt, one of the instructors in her school, and just generally a wonderful human being. Super tough, fights in our advanced division in the tournament all the time. Um, but what she also takes the time to do is, since her sensei is one of the senseis who runs the special needs division, Jordan is very, very, very involved in the special needs division, and she usually does matches every COC with one Catalina the Colombian Cobra Rojas. So, for example, last COC, it was time for Catalina to have her match, and Jordan was fighting in the advanced division tournament, and she was in the semifinals, so final four. If I recall the story correctly, now I have taken the second hand from Catalina's father, so details may be a little fuzzier here, but nonetheless, Jordan goes and she has her match for 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 the final four to see if she's going to go fight for first or third. So she uh, goes out to do that, and she loses the fight, so she's going to fight for third. In between the fight for third and the fight for first, she comes over and does her match with Catalina, all hugs and smiles afterwards, and she's like, Catalina, if you do swing for the stars again, I want to work your corner. So Catalina will have a corner woman of one Jordan McCarthy. Um, Again, super tough young lady. She took on someone with some internet fame, Jaylene Del Cid. Um, Jaylene, game opponent, normally fights a little, like I think 5 pounds lower in the weight than they came in. Both ladies came in under the weight class. It's not like they were like, just made it. Both of them were under just a couple pounds. So similar in size for sure. Um, Jaylene had an MMA fight, I believe, before. Um, I think maybe a boxing fight. This was Jordan's first kickboxing bout, and she did not look that way. Her skills looked phenomenal. Kept a great pace on Jaylene. Really, her defense held up. Her offense looked great. Really pushed herself and looked phenomenal doing it. And even more so, after the fight, I got the chance to interview her a little bit and talk about Swing for the Stars, which was a phenomenal experience. Jordan was nothing but gracious and professional and all the positive qualities that many people associate with her while she was talking about Catalina, the event, why we do it, everything like that. And it was really it was a really fun interview to do. And Jordan was very, very, very excited from here. So uh, she was very excited to do it, and she looked great. And she gave Catalina a nice shout out. It was really wonderful, really, really wonderful. But nonetheless, a great night of fights for sure. And Jordan gives me a nice segue because on Saturday she'll be donning this shirt and she'll be working Catalina's quarter. It's really going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. Um, Again, we're in our final preparations. Just in my shoes, the last little bit of outline has to be done. I'm missing from one person, but that's okay. No big deal. This far out, myself and Sensei Stein have had quite a few conversations about how we want to go about talking about this, and I think he and I kind of come up with a pretty good system as to how we're going to do this. But nonetheless, I'm excited for it for sure, and I'm sure there's going to be hiccups along the way. Um, and that, along with talking about the situation with Rocco Giambro and having his opponent fall out last minute because of medical issues, kind of brings me to a great thought to kind of close out our show here today. And it is simply the idea of the ability to roll with what life gives you. And it's a really admirable quality when we see someone who has this quality. Because, frankly, quite often, there are people who get very minor things in life, very minor things, And those very minor things throw them for a tremendous loop. They get knocked on their butt big time by things that shouldn't knock them over, by things that should not be a big deal. Right? Um, and it's funny if you've ever been that person, because I know I've been that person, in little brief intervals where I find myself complaining to somebody about something, and as it's coming out of my mouth, what I'm complaining about, I'm thinking to myself, wow, that sounds so small, insignificant, and weak. I can't believe I had to even mention that to them. And as they're saying it, they kind of like throw it back in my face, or if they're a close enough friend to bust my chops about it, or they kind of nod, like, yeah, sure. And I see the look in their face, like, oh, you idiot! Like you just vented out something so small and inconsequential that you shouldn't even be upset about. Right? So there are people who don't roll, and I do my best to make sure I usually am the kind of person. But of course, like every other human being, I've had those days or those times where I've just not. But you look at someone like Rocco Chiavron, who put all this time, all this effort, all these hours into preparing for this fight, has his whole amateur career, and really he works in the martial arts a lot in order to make sure that he can do everything that is necessary for him to perform at a high level and for him to do well in the fights that he's going to do. So, with all that happening, with the expenses he paid for his pro medicals, because in New York State they do not make it easy to get a pro license. You have to jump through some real hoops in order to get your pro license, and he jumped through all those hoops, I should say, and even with all of that, by no fault of his own, that fight gets taken away from him at the very, very, very last minute. Like I said, his hands were already wrapped. Like he was ready to start warming up. And yet, he still rolls with the punches. He's still as positive as can be. He's still ready to jump back in there as soon as humanly possible and get himself the back on the winning track, so to speak. And he's really excited to do it. I even saw a video he put out on Instagram earlier today about how he and the promotion are working together to make things right as far as the people who came out to see him fight and the money they spent on the tickets, and yet did not get to see him fight. So he and the promotion worked together to get something phenomenal done for his fans, which I was very excited to see both sides do. But again, sometimes it's the only choice we have, right? We don't get to choose the circumstance life throws at us, but it's really important that we're able to roll with it and to find the cool side of the pillow. There's going to be plenty of things in life that you don't choose and you would never choose, right? And there's a plan out there, divine or otherwise, that is there for you to go through these moments, for you to go through this hardship, for you to go through this difficulty, just to come out a slightly better or slightly different person on the other side of it. So the hard thing is when you're in that moment to see that and to think about that, right? When the horrible things are going wrong, when the things that we feel so much are going wrong, it's really hard to step back to 10,000 feet and be like, hmm, how is this thing going to positively impact my life? But quite honestly, usually it does, right? But more so, that ability to roll with the punches, that ability to keep that positive outlook no matter what life is thrown at you, it's an acquired skill. And it's something we admire greatly. When we see someone who doesn't simply give in just because life threw them difficulty, it's only going to make them better. It's only going to make you better. And more importantly, it's only going to help you with every other bit of hardship that life throws your way. Right? So really think about rolling with the punches. Hopefully this week life isn't throwing too much at you. But if it does, do your best, right? And roll with those punches. Right? Keep moving forward. Don't be deterred from your goals just because something that you didn't plan on happened. So that's all I have for you guys this week. As always, you can reach me via email, senseileonelli@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, I'm Sensei James Leonelli. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Sensei_Leonelli. You can find everywhere I'm on the internet at my link tree, linktr.ee/Sensei Leonelli. There you can find your link to my Catalina shirt. Hopefully you're going out and getting one for the whole family. Not one shirt, but one shirt for each member of the family. You knew what I meant. You can also find information on our sponsors on Swing for the Stars. I really hope to see you guys there. Make sure additionally that you guys are leaving a rate and review. It just helps. Remember, find my school online, tsmasmithtown.com, facebook.com/TigerSchulmanSmithtown for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at tsmma_Smithtown. Find out more about the Tiger Schulman's organization as a whole. Find Sensei's Weekly Mindset on Instagram. As discussed, remember, leave a rate and review. It just helps. Subscribe, get you new episodes every Wednesday. But most importantly, guys, share the podcast. It is the only form of advertising that I have, so I very much appreciate when I see you guys sharing it in your Instagram story and stuff like that. So please continue to do that. I appreciate it more than you know. With that in mind, my friends, until next time, invest in yourselves. I'll see you guys on the mat.